And welcome back to the Sideline Chat podcast, where it's now your Betfred Super League Round 5-6 debrief, and we kick off all the action from Headingley Stadium, where Hull FC have come from nowhere to down the Leeds Rhinos 31 points to 8.
Hull FC were in complete domination against Leeds all match, basically, from start to finish, in my view.
Only after about 18 minutes, because we got to keep in mind they're still missing Luke Gale for, as far as I believe, the next 5 rounds, currently standing. No Josh Reynolds. And the Jekyll and Hyde form. 1 week they could look absolutely brilliant, say, against the Salford, and then get dominated by Huddersfield the week later. So they were really in a spot of bother with this.
They were a little bit, but it goes to show that they are capable of trying to turn things around. Like, I know they were like you said, Jekyll and Hyde, really, like you said, but they are a bit hot and cold at the moment, but they'll get a form guy very soon.
As for the Leeds Rhinos, I'd have to say I was very disappointed in how they performed. I was honestly of the opinion they had turned a corner against Wakefield, but it was just shocking defence.
Yeah, the Rhinos' defence was not good enough at all. The standards, well, I shouldn't say the standards would have been high, but they didn't live up to the standards. They were really, it was low. The result shows that the defence for the Rhinos wasn't good.
Well, it wasn't good, and especially around the edges, they got picked off so hard. And the one man that inspired it all, it was Jake Connor.
Again, he's a miracle man, that kid.
He's probably one of the most maligned players in the Super League.
Is he young enough
due to the fact that he can be hot and cold? But I tell you what, he was hot enough to be Hull FC's standout player for this game. 2 tries, 1 try assist, 42 running meters, 6 tackle breaks, an offload, and a drop goal.
Yeah.
And 2 of the tries, that first try he scored, faking the kick. How many players do you think could get away with faking a kick?
Not a lot of players, to be quite honest with you. It's usually, you can fake passes, which happens more often than not, but faking a kick does not happen. Well, they do happen, but they usually get tackled, but not Jake Connor. He dummied it and went through.
And then, of course, the pinpoint beautiful pass out to Adam Swift out on the right flank, and it just set off an avalanche of black and white, or in this case, a very, what would you call that? Because what they were wearing in their kit wasn't black.
It was more like a dark grey and white.
The grey and pinks. Because they weren't the black and whites, but they were flying.
They certainly were. Which, I thought this game would have been a lot closer, but Hull FC obviously put the foot down early on. I know it took, 18 minutes before a point was scored, but that's where the Leeds were good, and then it just slipped off when, like I said, Avalanche went through.
They managed to score 2 tries in the final 20 minutes, but by then the damage was already done. They bled 5 tries in the space of an hour.
Yeah, that's not good enough. If you want to be scoring tries, score throughout the match and try and stop them early on, or be the first team to score. But nothing went right for Leeds.
Well, they had a couple of yellow cards. Matt Pryor was amongst one of them.
That is true. But it wasn't their night, Leeds, which is disappointing to see, because I was hoping this game would have been a bit of a contest.
Well, it wasn't a contest. This was a Hull FC shellacking. Pure and simple. And where does this leave Leeds? They're now 1-4 on the table.
Yeah, so they'll be down in the bottom 4?
The bottom third of the table, I'd have to say.
Yeah.
Only probably above Wakefield and Toulouse. Well, actually, no. I think Wakefield's got 2 wins now, or is it? No, it's still 1.
Yeah, 1. Yeah.
But there's a lot of teams not good enough. Just simply not good enough.
The pressure we start, come on, we're into round 5 and they've only had 1 win. Usually 2 or 3 by this time of year would be pretty good.
Well, for Hull, they're sitting 3-2. Despite the Jekyll and Hyde at the back, after having back-to-back. Well, they haven't had really a back-to-back wins. They've been Jekyll and Hyde again, but they're still doing enough to be 3-2 at this stage.
Yeah, but a side like Leeds should be around about the same as Hull FC, if not a bit better. The pressure will be starting to build on Richard Agar himself and the club.
Well, there's whispers already, but that's a story for another day. Now, moving on, Wakefield Trinity, the first team to get a win out of the bottom two, downing Toulouse Olympique, 18 points to 6.
Toulouse, after putting that almost win over Wigan in round 4, it was Wigan?
Yep.
Yeah. They were a bit disappointing against Wakefield, in my view. I thought surely with that performance they did against Wigan in round 4, it would carry over to round 5 against Wakefield, and they might have had a chance of winning this match, but ultimately did not work for them whatsoever.
It didn't work for them in the slightest. I don't think Toulouse, after levelling the scores at 6 apiece, I don't think they were able to keep pace with what Trinity were throwing down.
No. Trinity were, what would you say, in control again?
Well, Toulouse let a try in from dummy half. That's bad.
Yes. That is not good at all. I mean, come on, by now they should know, not only just on the Super League, but from the Championship last year and the years before that, that scoring from dummy half close to the line is a possibility. They need to learn that quickly. Otherwise, things like Hood's try is going to keep on happening to them.
And I don't want to... This is really... I mean, I know this has turned into a bit of a Toulouse bashing session, but on one level or another, we did see this coming. The Corey Hall try was sort of interesting because everyone thought Tom Johnston was out.
Yeah.
For the way he died, but he got the offload away
Just
for Corey Hall to get over the touchline.
Yeah, that... It's got to say, it was a spectacular knockback, knockback into the field from Tom Johnston, Corey Hall. But Toulouse could have done better there. They could have got the ball and knocked it out themselves. I know they were trying not to, but that could have been... A goal on dropout could have been best case scenario for Toulouse, not conceding 4 points.
And I know we're looking at practically the two worst sides in Super League, but even Wakefield managed to get up over the top. And I thought Toulouse would have been in the right mindset to go on with the job after nearly getting over the top of the Wigan Warriors, but turns out I was wrong on that front.
Well, I was kind of off the same mindset as you. And as I said, coming off a near win with Wigan, though, I thought I would have maybe had the first
And they got the reigning champions next to lose, so it's not looking good for them. Wakefield, they could be 1-5, but at least you could say they are 1.
Yeah.
Not none.
So Toulouse are the only one that have not had a win.
Although I do like what Guy Armitage is doing.
Yeah, he's been one of the standout players for Toulouse so far this season, in the short Super League season so far. Guy Armitage, he's been one of the standout players, if not the best player so far for Toulouse this season.
And the one thing the Olympics still have up their sleeve is the fact that they have the joint second worst attack in Super League, only beating out Wakefield by a try. 74 points Wakefield have scored this year. Leeds and Toulouse, between the two of them, 78.
I mean, like I've been saying, at least Toulouse have been getting points on the board week in, week out. Also, their best result was against Wigan in round 4. But I think this is the first game this season that Toulouse haven't scored in double digits. I could be wrong, but I believe that is. But at least they're going to keep getting points on the board. That's the main thing.
It'll click. I honestly think it will click. And Tom Johnston for Wakefield, he's had a bit of a rough couple of years, but another standout performance from him. 143 running meters, 1 try assist for Corey Hall, 3 tackle breaks, and 2 line breaks.
Yeah. And like you said, that spectacular...
And their defence stood up well. Only 1 try conceded. Good. Now do it again. Question is, can they?
We'll have to wait and see.
We will have to wait and see. Now, moving from West Yorkshire to Greater Manchester, Salford going down to Hull KR, 26 points to 16.
I have to say, I know Salford is another loss for us. So they're 2 and 3, but it's a much better performance than what they did in round 4.
When you were held trialist by Huddersfield.
Yes, improved performance, but still there's a bit of work to do to get back to how Salford were in rounds 1 and 2.
All the tries that were scored off kicks were also... There was also an element of Salford misfields, especially the ones very close to the try line.
If not in the in goal.
Exactly. They were just...
Allowing Minchella to score.
Matty Staunton, that was another try right there.
Yes.
And I'm pretty sure even Mikey Lewis's first try as well.
What, from a chip kick himself, I think it was about 10 metres out. I could be wrong, could have been there closer. A chip kick through and score for himself. Like, seriously, come on. But, anyway.
Yes, anyway, Salford, not enough in the tank to mount a comeback. That long-range effort from Mark Sneed, getting the intercept and palming it off for Joe Burgess, that was probably one of Salford's brightest sparks in attack. But other than that, they just couldn't match KR whatsoever.
No, they couldn't. Not at all. I thought, with CO scoring, Bright scoring, and Burgess scoring, I thought, yeah, we could be on here. But Mikey Lewis was another try to add on to his previous tally. That pretty much put the salt in the wound, you could say.
KR have now started to mount a comeback of sorts. I mean, it wasn't looking good for them, sitting in 0-2, but they're now just one win outside the top 6, so they've definitely recovered well. To this point, I will have to say.
Yes.
And Mikey Lewis as well. 2 tries, 1 try assist, 82 run meters, 1 tackle break. But can we just, on that second try, can we just take a moment to appreciate the fact that Frankie Holton, a back rower by trade, was chasing through on that kick?
Yeah.
Seriously. Ryan Briley, I'm pretty sure Ryan Briley.
I'm pretty sure the same thing, yeah.
And then gets the offload away for Mikey Lewis on his inside shoulder to score, to put the game beyond any reasonable doubt.
Yeah. That was, seriously, what was going on there? You don't let a front rower out jump.
Second rower.
Second rower. You don't get a second rower.
But how good is that? How athletic, how good is Frankie Holden, I have to say?
He was really good. I think he did well in the last game before this one as well. So he's found something somewhere. I'm not saying he was a bad player before, but he's
Well, he was a highly rated product in the championship, and now Hull KR's given him his chance. He's really leaping forward with both hands.
He certainly is, which is good to see. But it's second rower out jumping a fullback. That's unheard of, but it goes to show that the second rowers are getting... I'm not saying they weren't athletic in the first place, they're getting more and more athletic as the years go on.
Well, I suppose, look, forwards particular, most of them are starting to slim down. Ball players like Morgan Knowles comes to mind, so perhaps second rowers... And really, second rowers are becoming second-class strike weapons outside the wingers.
Yeah.
More than likely, a second row is going to find himself on the try sheet, or at least have less than 10 tries per season, somewhere between that 6 and 7 mark.
Possibly, yeah, you could say that. But it's getting a more and more occurrence, which is good to see, because before, it used to only be fullbacks, winners, centres, the occasional halves.
And the odd forward.
But now we're seeing more and more forwards and second rowers and locks scoring tries. I know it's a slower rate than what the winners and that are, but...
Well, really, you can't catch the wingers.
No, but still, they're creeping up the pecking order pretty quick.
Well, they just become useful in attack. Not only are they good bodyguards for the halves, but strike. Like, really digging into that line. But really, Salford are, I would say, now starting to be in decline after this shock start they've had.
As in the 2-0 start to the year? Or a shock start to
Well, it's really... I think reality is now really set heading in. Their goal line discipline is simply not good enough.
No.
3 of those tries could have been chalked off, and they could have been in with a chance in a competitive 16-8 game.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. They started off trying out the blocks, but then it's gone downhill since then, which is not good for the confidence, not good for the supporters like myself. Like you think, oh yeah. I mean, I was happy that I got the first 2 wins, but then since then it's kind of like, oh shit, we're starting to go not that well. What's going to happen next? Are we ever going to get a win again? And if so, how soon? Etc.
But for Hull KR, I think in touch at the moment, but they can't afford to let opportunities like that slip.
No, because that mid-table pack is close.
Very condensed between those with 2 wins and those with 1.
And like it was back in the last season, one slip-up can make you fall 2 to 3 places from a team below you. So,
but with 3 straight losses with Salford...
Yeah, see, Salford were up there. Now they've slipped up for 3 losses. They've dropped back down the table. And that's what I was saying about if a couple of things don't go your way, you could slip down very, very quickly, which is what's happening to Salford at the moment. Speaking
of things going your way, St Helens in their clash against the Warrington Bulls, an absolute masterclass, running out 28-2 winners.
Warrington were nowhere, absolutely nowhere. Goes to show St Helens why they're 5-0, why they're 3-time
reigning champions.
They're just in a league of their own. Compared to this time last year where they had Catalans as a threat, they haven't really got a threat this year at the moment.
Catalan are starting to build, and we'll touch on that very shortly. But you're right, St Helens are just a league above everyone else at the moment.
And
Warrington, they were not anywhere to be seen. All they had to show for their efforts over these 80 minutes was a singular penalty goal before having 5 tries running against them. This is the worst display Darryl Powell's had to contend with. And we thought last week against the Catalan Dragons were bad. But their right edge was absolutely torn to shred when you got Mark Percival and Tommy Makinson getting doubles between the 2 of them.
Yeah, exactly. It's not good enough for Warrington. Warrington should have been a lot more competitive in this match and would have maybe caused an upset, but
alas, they didn't, and Saints just walked right over the top.
Exactly.
There is no sugarcoating this. Warrington got walked over.
Well, over the last few years where St Helens have gone 3 in a row, from the first part of the 3-peat, they've been improving year on year on year, and they are still improving. It might not seem like they are, but they are. It just shows that they are keep improving to have 5-0 to start the year, and like kind of no one in contention to fight them, really.
I mean, we know they're gunning for another league leaders shield at this point. They missed out,
and they could rewrite history
on 2020. They missed out on 2021, and despite being the champions in both of those instances, Tommy Makinson, of course, brilliant game he had. 2 tries, 145 running meters, 3 tackle breaks, 2 line breaks, and 2 from 4 goals converted.
Good old Tommy Makinson at it again. Scoring tries, kicking goals. He does a lot, Makinson, and that's why he's regarded one of the best players.
Well,
and he's in a very top team.
And probably the best team in Super League. I was actually listening to another podcast the other day and talked about how the Wigan Warriors were one of Britain's most iconic rugby league franchises. Mainly because of the team of the 90s, when you had the likes of Ellery Handley, Martin Afire, guys like that. I was sitting there listening, and I was thinking, so, all right, you make a fair point about Wigan, but surely you have to take, especially because St Helens' reputation in the Super League era is, between Wigan and the Leeds Rhinos, they've always been viewed as sort of like that third wheel. Where you got Leeds winning that treble, winning the free EP first up between the years of 2007 and 9, and then that treble year of 2015 where they just won absolutely everything.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the Wigan Warriors' success in the 90s overshadows their Merseyside rivals. And I was just sitting there thinking, oh, hold on. That's all well and good. But if you're looking at this right here, right now, Leeds are currently in a death spiral. Wigan just got their asses handed to them, and we're going to touch on that very shortly. Meanwhile, you look at St Helens. What have they achieved since 2010? They were runners-up in the 2011 Grand Final, albeit the Leeds Rhinos again.
Yes.
But since then, 2014 Grand Final win with the League Leaders Shield. 2018 Challenge Cup finalists, as was the League Leaders Shield. 2019 League Leaders Shield, Challenge Cup runners-up again, this time to Warrington. Well, not runners-up 2018. They got knocked out in the semis to the Catalan Dragons. 2019 runners-up, beat Warrington, lost to Warrington. Grand Final winners that year, first time in 5 years beating Salford.
2019, yeah.
2020 they finished second and beat Wigan in a very tight Grand Final, which I probably regard as probably the best Grand Final either side of the world over the last 5 years. Second again in 2021, Challenge Cup winners and third straight Grand Final win. So they are now the second team of the Super League era to win the three-peat. And the side over the last 5 years has either been top of the table or in the top half of the table. Absolutely dominant. Rarely has lost a game. They have probably got a record. I think at most they probably have about somewhere between 15 and 25 losses. Over 3 years.
Probably more around the 15 bracket, more than 25
But
losses. But that just goes to show that they're in a league of their own.
But it's talking about... Because, of course, this podcast, the person I was listening to, he was of the opinion that St Helens didn't want to travel out to Australia. And that's his only reasoning why he believes Wigan are the most iconic brand in rugby league in the UK, because they actually made the effort to come out to Australia to play the World Club Challenge. Of course, this was 2014. And promoted the game, and by actually bringing Super League to Australia. And I'm just sitting there thinking, well, it's another issue, the World Club Challenge in time.
Well, I was going to say, what about the Leeds Rhinos? Didn't they come and play Melbourne Storm in Melbourne?
Yes, they did just that.
But since the spicy cough, we haven't had one, which is very unfortunate.
Well, we were lucky in 2020 to get away with one.
And that was Melbourne...
against the Roosters. But getting back...
Roosters, St Helens, wasn't it? No?
But getting back to what I was saying... In 2018, St Helens went on a 26-4 record to get knocked out in the semi-finals. 2019, that was 26-3. 2020, 12-5, but that was a readjusted season. And last year, 16-5 of the games they were able to play.
17 losses in those years, combined.
Yeah, along with the way... I see it. 52, making that 64. 80 wins in the last 3 years. Well, 3 years alone.
So
2018 to 2021.
So
80 wins.
80 wins to 17 losses.
And they got another 5 to add on to this year. So that's 85 already in the last 4 years.
So 85 to 17. That is a bloody good strike rate.
It is.
And like I said, it goes to show they're still improving.
Still improving. I don't know how much more this team can improve. What, do they have to literally field the St Helens side at the World Cup to win?
Who knows? Who knows? But they might not be. It might not look like they're improving, but behind the scenes and that they probably are. They might be improving small things that we might not be able to see on a field.
This is probably the most professional St Helens are, and when this is all over, I don't know when this is going to be all over, but we're going to look back on the history books and say St Helens became the greatest rugby league side of the Super League era. Yeah. Not due to the amount of titles, but just this team at the moment. This could go down as one of the greats.
Yeah. One of the greatest teams of all time, yeah.
And if Warrington want to get there, they've got to be much better than what they showed last week.
Yeah, definitely.
But I think with Darryl Powell, it's a work in progress, considering he's only first year at Warrington.
And probably starting to get a little bit of pressure put on him.
Well, not as much pressure as Lee Radford at the Castlewood Tigers after going down to Huddersfield 36 points to 24.
But that was a bloody good game of football.
The seesaw effect. Huddersfield jumped out to an 18-0 lead in 40 minutes.
Yeah,
Huddersfield were in cruise control.
they were.
Oh, and you wondered where Castleford were, especially some of the tries. One to you, Luke Yates, where again with second rowers, Chris McQueen gets the ball this time, finds an offload back to his captain in the middle of the field. Owen Trout crashes over at close range before Jermaine McGilvery opens the left side, cast up to score in the corner.
Yeah.
Not exactly in that order, but still, how it happened.
Yeah, that's pretty much what their first 3 tries were from those 3 players you mentioned, of Yates, Trout and McGilvery. But come second half, was a different story.
Oh, it was a very different story, and especially with the Giants down a man.
Yes, they certainly were down a man, but they still did really well to hang on, especially to get Ricky Latelli a hat-trick to finish off the match.
Only after Casper jumped to the 24-16, or 24-18 lead, I should say.
Yes. But, seriously...
But the final 20 minutes where Ricky Latelli, and I got to say he was the stand-up, because he basically turned that game back into the favour of the Huddersfield Giants. 3 tries, 113 running meters, 9 tackle breaks, and 3 line breaks, as Castleford just let that game slip.
They did. And Latelli's 3 tries, well, his first 2 tries, his first try and second try were fairly similar. But his last one had a bit of work to do, but he still got there in the end.
At least he actually got there, and it looked credible, because I still question that Mai Fanua grounding.
Yeah, that's...
It's dubious, but apparently Jack Smith, video referee, saw or fit that...
Sometimes if it's inconclusive, which they might have said, they stick with on-field decision.
Well, yeah, that's the on-field decision was a try, but...
But if it was a no try and it was inconclusive evidence, then would have stuck with no try, so...
You can't win with the video referee.
No, but if the on-field try says yes, and
but
it was a bit
50-50. Jake Truman and Liam Watts tried to turn this side around, and in the second half they almost succeeded, but they let it slip again.
Yes,
plunging Castleford to their 4th loss in 5 matches.
Yes, but you can say there's another side that's had at least a win this season as well.
Yeah, barring Toulouse Olympique, of course.
Yeah.
And speaking of the French, the Catalan Dragons now cruising on their 4th straight victory after dominating the Wigan Warriors 28-0.
This is the Catalan side we've been looking for this season. Yes, they did lose round 1?
They lost round 1 badly to St. Helens.
And then rounds 2 and 3.
2 and 3 was scrappy wins.
Was scrappy. 4 was a bit better, and this one's been the better one again.
This
is what we've been looking for.
This is when it all clicked. And they got Dudson back, they got McIlaurin back, they got Sam Tompkins back, and it all showed.
Dylan Napa, he's not back quite yet.
Next week, I think, against KR, he's able to return. But this performance is where the Catalan Dragons really clicked. Because I think everyone was thinking the Wigan Warriors were going to offer some real stiff opposition.
Well, I personally thought that too. You probably would have thought that as well. But Wigan were nowhere.
Well, and the errors cost them dearly. Josh Drinkwater pulled the strings perfectly for Mitchell Pearce to really stamp his authority in Super League.
This is the best game Mitchell Pearce has played. He's a bit slow to start off in his first match, but score, 3 tries in 2 matches?
2 tries, 29 run meters, a tackle break, and an offload in really a stand-up performance from the standoff.
Yeah, so he's got 2 tries in this match, and I think he had 1 last week as
he
well.
had
so
1
he's
against...
got 3 tries in 2 matches.
Mikhail Gudamon, he's now scored tries in back-to-back weeks.
That is true also. So something's getting right there at Catland, and it's showing.
It showed this game, and I think Steve McNamara will be very, very pleased. As I said yesterday, the big donut.
Yes. Scorched
them with a big donut.
Which, we both, I just previously said, we weren't expecting Wigan to score nothing. I thought it was going to be
This is the second trip to Perpignan the Wigan Warriors have had in 2 years. And this is the second time they've walked away getting nilled.
Bit of a bogey ground, then, you could say.
I wouldn't say much of a bogey ground, but it's just sort of like...
A bogey team.
well, I wouldn't even say bogey team either. They've come to the Star Gilbert Brutus twice on 2 occasions, and twice they've been humiliated with a nil scoreline.
Yeah. Well, see, we're starting to get the inconsistent Wigan again.
14 errors. 14 errors.
And they lost. No, they won against Toulouse last week, didn't they?
Only just.
So, and they made a few errors then too, didn't they, Wigan?
Not good enough. And some of those errors contributed to tries. I think it was the second Mitchell Pearce try.
Yes.
When they couldn't clean it up in the in goal.
Yes.
And then probably dropping the ball in good field position because I think Gudemond attacked the try line off the scrum.
I know Pearce's first try, Mitchell Pearce's first try.
Big left foot step.
Was trying to scrum. Gudemond's was a bit of a messy lead-up work. Like, I think the ball was ricocheting off left, right, and centre. And like you said, Pearce's second try was from the Wigan area. And then Laddie scoring from Drinkwater's grubber kick.
Again, pulling the strings.
Yes.
But the biggest moment of the game was the biff. This was a biff.
It was a biff.
Jordan Desiree versus Cade Ellis. Who did you have money on in that fight?
Not Cade Ellis.
Red cards at the end of it all.
From both teams, yes. So they'll be copping a few weeks suspensions.
Well, it's been referred to the tribunal. Grade E strikes, which is not good.
Yeah, they could be out for maybe 5 weeks.
It'll be interesting to see what the match review committee's got to say about that.
6 weeks.
Wigan just fell off a cliff. They scraped by against Toulouse, and then they get stung by the Catalan Dragons.
Yeah. I mean, that's not good enough. Not good enough at all. Considering that the start of the season was pretty good, like really good, they were kind of up there. And
Jai Field having absolute blinder scoring tries for fun.
Yeah, but now Sutton's gone. The spark seems to be gone.
I wouldn't say gone, but...
Well...
Reality check, I think, would be the accurate description.
Yeah, right, I'll give you credit for that one there, correcting me there.
And as for the Catalan Dragons, from getting stunned in round 1, have now built up to be third on the table, only out equal points to the Huddersfield Giants and the Wigan Warriors, but trailing heavily behind Huddersfield on for and against, to the tune of 54 points.
Yeah. So either Catalans need a massive win, or Huddersfield needs a massive loss.
Well, that's an interesting question, and we will cover that now with the round 5 preview. Who's starting off with the Wigan Warriors back at home at the DW Stadium against the 1-4 Cast Tigers.
It's round 6, not round 5.
Round 6, yep.
Say round 5.
Thank you for that. Of course, there will be no Cade Ellis for the Wigan Warriors. Not sure if there's an update on Brad Singleton yet. Maybe he might be included in the side, but we don't know for sure. Although, when you have the power of the laptop in front of you, you can always check to see if the 21-man squads have been named. To this point, no, they have not.
Generally, they have been, though.
Around about this time they should be.
Generally, they do, but not this time round, unfortunately. Well, what side are we going to get from Wigan and what side are we going to get from Castleford? I mean,
I don't know.
Based on round 5, Castleford are the better team.
I don't know what we're going to get from the Castleford Tigers, but what we have been seeing is simply not good enough.
From Castleford.
Yep.
Or when Wigan too against Catalans with 14 errors.
But at least Wigan were in good form when they came slightly unstuck. True. And that's putting it politely.
Yes.
To say the least. Putting it very politely.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of worse things we could say, but we're not that bad.
I don't know what Castleford need to do here.
Improve.
Well, yeah.
Massively improve. Other than that, if they don't improve, well, bye-byes.
Their right edge defensively was shot to pieces in the final 20 minutes when Lutelli went on a barnstorm of play.
Yeah. Try after try after try.
Simple as that. Not good enough.
No, not at all.
And they need to stop rushing in. That's how they get picked off out wide. It's either the centre or the halves that rush in, and then you got the Chenga line going, knock-on effect, that allows the overlap.
Yeah.
And I think that's not just symptomatic of that game against Huddersfield, but against clashes against Hull KR and against Warrington as well.
Yeah, I have to agree with you.
They need to stop. They just need to trust each other in defence. That's what needs to be done.
Yeah.
And Wigan, they just need a major attitude readjustment. And I think this could kickstart that. As such, I'm going to say the Wigan Warriors win 7-12.
Yeah, I'm only basing this off the last game, but yes, Wigan have been playing the better form heading into the last match. I'm going to say Wigan are going to win this one, but in a 1-6 margin. If Cartsford can do what they did against Huddersfield, besides drop off near the back end, they could be in for a competitive match. So, like I said, Wigan 1-6.
Well, we'll see how far Lee Radford can improve, but right now the Tigers are just going off a cliff fast.
Very fast.
And speaking of cliffs, the Salford Red Devils at the AJ Bell Stadium against the Leeds Rhinos, though Leeds will be without Matt Pryor in this game, a one-match penalty notice for a Grade B high tackle.
Fair enough.
Oh, and as for Brad Singleton, he won't be featuring either because he's also been hit with a two-match penalty ban for a late hit on a passer.
Well, there you go. We've answered our own question, pretty much.
So more than likely, Liam Byrne will have to probably move into the starting lineup, and then they'll have to call and say someone like Patrick Simone or even Brazilian forward Ramon Silva to fill the void.
One of those two.
Maybe even Mago starts. Who knows?
Who knows? Better wait and see when the team lists drop.
Still no word on Salford regarding Harvey Levett, whether he's going to be fully fit for this game.
No, but we kind of do have an update on Callum Watkins, though.
By the end of the month, he should be fit.
So that's
sort
either
of.
round 6 or round 7, if not round 8 at the latest.
I would think after Easter he might be back.
Yeah, I'd say so too.
Right, so that would really be a boost to the Salford backline, but I don't see salvation at the moment for the Red Devils. Leeds were bad at defence, but at least they were disciplined on their own goal line. And it didn't allow cheap grubbers or misfields in.
That's where Salford's been very, very poor lately, depending on their own goal line. That's where they've been extremely poor, and they need to rectify that very, very quickly. Otherwise, they're going to keep getting points piled on them. Every team will realise that, Salford are weak on the defence. We've got to go, instead of kicking on tackle 5, we'll just run through them and we'll score. So, the quicker Salford can turn things around, the quicker it's going to be.
I got to side Leeds 7-12 here.
I would like to say Salford, but I'm going to say Leeds 1-6.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be that close a game, but funny things have happened. And the other game on Saturday morning, and not telecast on Sky Sports, the Catalan Dragons hosting Hull KR. Now, already we know that Jordan Desiree will not be suiting up. He'll probably cop a 5 to 6 game ban and for starting that fight. But the good news is Dylan Napa should be back.
Should be.
Well, should be. He already served a 4-match ban. So a straight swap, Desiree for Napa. And then, of course, Fuad Yaha might be past fit for this clash after being left out in favour of Attio Romano, I believe it was. So Catalan, perfect last week against Wigan and full strength this week.
Yes, but Hull KR did put on a good performance too. But I know it was against Salford, but they were looking good against Salford in the last match. And Canton was, like I said, were absolutely perfect against Wigan.
I got a call. Now, last time they met, it was the semi-final showdown at the Stade Gilbert Brutus. Hull, the first versus 6th on the table. Hull KR, 80 minutes away from a grand final. Won't have to deal with that sort of atmosphere like they did last time out, but the Dragons have found their mojo.
They definitely have found their mojo in Catalan, and the crowd will still be well and truly behind them. And like you said, it won't be as much pressure like it is on the semi-final, but it'll still be quite noisy for Catalan side and hold KR to try and block out.
I think KR, despite not having that same pressure as they did before, they're going to be walking right into the furnace. This is a cauldron they do not want to enter, because now that the Dragons have got that sniff for what they did, and now that they know how to lay the platform for their season, like a rocket, like that. It probably picked up on the microphone, but that's exactly what Catalan are doing now.
Yeah, they certainly do. Like we said, a loss in round 1, scrappy win in 2 and 3, come back in round 4, and even a better win in round 5. So
this will be a Dragons 13+ victory.
yeah. I know Catalan to go to win, but if Hull KR don't perform well early on in the match, then Catalan's will run away with it. So it'll come down to Hull KR trying to keep Catalan contained for at least the first 20 minutes. Otherwise, it's going to get out of control. But I'm going to say Catalan are going to win 13 plus as well.
They will win comfortably. Now, the 2 games on Sunday, and Channel 4 will once again be bringing coverage to the rest of the UK. First up, the Warrington Wolves against Wakefield Trinity. Of course, Joe Philbin cautioned or charged at the disciplinary hearings, but accepted no match penalty bans and for a drop tackle. So he will be free to play this game, whereas Wakefield have no judicial concerns at this point in time.
That's a good thing. But what's not so good is Warrington's performance last week coming up against a Wakefield side that managed to win against Toulouse.
I'm expecting a massive course correction here. I think Warrington know they haven't been up to scratch. And they've got some brilliant outside backs, and George Williams really running the show over at the wire. I don't see anything in Wakefield that could convince me they could knock Warrington off, and I think they know they haven't been up to it. Their defence on the right edge has been lousy, but if they just cut the errors out, if they play high percentage football, Warrington smokes oppositions.
Yeah, they've been, I'm going to say, slack over the last few weeks. They have not been performing at their best. The Williams combination has not been going as well as what I thought they would have been so far this season, or continuing on from early on in the year. But I can only see this one way happening. That's a Warrington 13 plus victory.
Yeah, it's the Warrington should get a massive course correction here, and Wakefield anchored practically towards the bottom of the table after this week.
So it's the next team that we're coming into.
Yes, Toulouse Olympique hosting St. Helens. Of course, Saints will not have the services of Sione Matautier after accepting a 2-match penalty note. Otis, well, there's some injury concerns for some of the Saints players. James Roby, not Roby, but Alex Walmsley amongst them at this moment. Sort of an injury cloud hanging over a couple of players at St. Helens.
But knowing St. Helens, they've got the depth there. They're just so professional at the moment. They're like one of the most, if not the most professionalist club in the Super League as we speak.
We just got more word on those bans. Cade Ellis, 5 matches. So he'll be rubbed up for round 6 through to 8 and the cup tie against Salford, even including the quarterfinals if successful, and Desiree a 3-match ban.
So when's Cade Ellis from? Round 6?
Round 6, 7, 8, round 6 of the Challenge Cup, and also the quarterfinals if successful.
If not, would that be round 9?
I would probably believe so.
Yeah. So you could say round 9 at the latest, if not round 8. I don't know. Anyway. I can only see this happening one way, unfortunately.
I wouldn't be too sure, but I think there are some injury concerns. I'm just trying to double check on that, but...
like I said, if St. Helens have injuries concerns, they've got the depth there. They can pretty much do a like for like. It's like what you said with Brisbane in the NRLW and Melbourne in the NRL. The next one gets off the production line into the side, performs very well. It'll be like that over in St. Helens land.
I think this is going to be a little bit of a closer game. I still think it's a St. Helens win, but I think it's a 7-12 win.
No.
Not necessarily a big win. I think it also depends how many players are going to be ruled out of this as well. So I'm not going to be overly convinced it's a walkover this time.
Now, on St. Helens, like we said when we were reviewing the Warrington match, it's going to be 13 plus in favour of St. Helens. Toulouse will have points on the board yet again, hopefully double digits, but they've got no chance against St. Helens, no way. Not saying that Toulouse are a crap side. I still have a bit of a din for Toulouse and Catalans, but in this
Guilty
match,
supportership.
it's, but St. Helens are going to absolutely run over the top of Toulouse by 13 plus.
Well, I think this will be a slightly closer contest. I just can't see Saints running over them this time with injury concerns. And if players are not 100% fit, if Wolves was 100% fit, Saints would, but question marks. Could be touch and go. And finally, of round 6, Hull FC hosting the Huddersfield Giants. Oh, here we go. Hull in position to go back-to-back here. Will they?
Well, tough question here. Huddersfield have been going pretty good as of late.
And the fact they've been doing it without Theo Farge as well, that's the interesting thing. Farge was meant to be the big marquee signing for Ian Watson's side.
But he's injured.
Oh, is he still injured?
Injured?
Oh, I thought he was.
Out?
I thought he had a too much ban, I know that.
Oh, well, he might be...
But
there might not be room
But
for
regardless,
him.
I think the form of Ollie Russell, particularly Ollie Russell,
say,
and
might
then
be
you
not-
got Will Price doing his thing on top of that.
Well, if he's not injured, and like you said, too much ban, forgot him having too much ban, there might be enough room for him in the side because of the form of other players, like I said, of Will Price and Ollie Russell. Where can you put Theo Farge in there if they're in top form?
Well, that's the question, isn't it? And that will be one for Ian Watson to answer. But with no Kane Evans again suspended for another 2 matches.
Does that really surprise you there from what he's done in NRL?
Honestly, no.
No, it doesn't with me either.
Yeah, I'm not convinced about the black and whites going back to back. I think it is more possible. Well, it's highly more probable Huddersfield run out 13 plus victors here and go 3 straight wins on the trot and really running second on the table at the moment.
If Jake Connor puts in a performance like he did and has been as of late, Hull FC could really start ringing alarm bells to Huddersfield Giants. So, in saying that, I'm going to say Hull FC to win in a 7-12 margin.
Well, you're digging your own grave at the hands of the KR supporters.
Hey, look, it's predictions. I could be wrong. Yeah, there's always a couple smokies in a prediction time.
It certainly is
And
the
this
truth.
one's my big one for the week.
Yeah, but we'll see how far that really goes.
Probably not very far.
And finally, in our championship, well, really, it's our Challenge Cup spotlight once again because of the fact the Cup was on over the weekend with round 5 of the Cup done and dusted. And I'm going to say, Bradford and Leigh, this was sort of the game that was talked about as sort of like the big one of the round 5 matchups.
It certainly was, and it certainly did produce a cracking of a game.
A very tight affair between
was.
the Bulls and the Centurions, but Leigh, in the last, this was tit for tat between the wingers of the Bulls and the backs of the Centurions. Nelly McDonald's crashing over, that turned things on its head.
It certainly did, and this game, I have to say, could have gone either way. It did go in the way of the Centurions, but the Bulls didn't go down without a fight. They were fighting as hard as possibly could. I have to say, I quite like their away jersey that they wore.
Yeah, I
Bit
don't
of
know.
purple, bit of green, bit of white.
goals are the big thing, and considering that there were only 2 tries scored by Bradford, but they still had control heading in, locked up at 8-all at half-time. Thanks to the early try to Kieran Gill, and then Matty Dawson-Jones finally crashing over in the second half. But 2 tries, all 3... Well, really, it was the 2 tries to Adam Sidlow and that final spectacular try from Ed Chamberlain.
Yeah,
that sealed the deal for the Leigh Centurions and sees them moving on to round 6 of the Challenge Cup.
Up against Hull, one of the Hull sides.
KR.
Okay, I couldn't remember. Trust me to not remember shit like that.
Well, that's why I'm here.
Yeah.
I fill the gaps even when I don't really have the full picture.
Shows who's the more professional one out of us two.
I am the professional one.
I say that's why it shows who is the more professional one out of us two. Meaning you over me.
Disappointing for Bradford, I'd have to say. Bowing out in round 5, but at least they can now go back to Championship and working on promotion.
Yeah, look, I was just going to say, yesterday it's disappointing to see them lost because they've been having a pretty good season in the Championship. But now they can solely focus on that. They don't need to worry about Challenge Cup or anything else. They're going to solely focus on, like I said, getting promoted to the Super League if that comes to fruition.
Well, out of the clubs in the Championship contesting round 6 of the Cup, Barrow, Featherstone, Leigh, Sheffield and Whitehaven will all feature in the 6th round. Barrow versus Huddersfield, Featherstone making the trip to the south of France, Leigh heading to the Sewell Group Craven Park, Sheffield hosting Hull FC, but whether their new home will be ready in time, that is the question. And Whitehaven...
Who's home?
Sheffield.
It sounds like it's not going to be ready in time, unfortunately.
And Whitehaven drawn the death sentence of the Saints.
You never know. Whitehaven might pull a rabbit out the hat and knock out St Helens, although...
You're really puffing Whitehaven up here.
Well, depending on how full strength St Helens...
One chance is all you get. They're bound to be full strength for this.
Yeah, but St Helens, they can even win on a second string side. Whitehaven will be full strength, no doubt about it, but... Hey,
but part-timers up against the full-time side?
Challenge Cup can cause upsets. We've seen that before.
Well, we'll see if this is the case again, but I don't see any Championship side advancing to the quarter-final stages, unless it's either Leigh or Featherstone.
And I was going to say, whoever plays Salford, that's a Super League side, so...
Well, that being Wigan, so...
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, not looking good for you there. Bradford,
no.
Opportunity to move up the table, or they don't have to be burdened by what Featherstone, Leigh, Barrow and Sheffield, all clubs in the top 6, mind you, have to deal with. So there's a chance if they can get their for and against in order.
And that's...
But mind you, they have only played 4 games into this point because of Storm Eunice.
Yes.
But on that note of the Storm, it is full time here from us. If you like this installment of the Sideline Chat podcast, or even yesterday's NRLW debrief, make sure you leave us a like, hit that subscribe button, and click the bell for notifications so you never miss a week of rugby league action. Hope you enjoy all the NRL and all the Super League across the weekend, and we'll speak to you next week. Along with Mark Hendry, I am Connor Marcellus, and you have been listening to the Sideline Chat. We'll see you next Wednesday.
See you later, folks.